Folks. So, not often you'll ever get me do this. Maybe with the sort of interviews I've been doing late, it may happen more in the future. But I do want to give a warning to anyone about to listen to this episode. Facility goes very in depth with some of the trauma that he went through as a young fella. There are quite a few topics that may be upsetting to some people: child abuse, drug use, assaults. The list goes on. Honestly, it was one of the most heartbreaking but empowering interviews I've ever done with someone, to see how someone can rise above a pretty shitty start to life. So, as with me, I'm not censoring anything. All of the terminology that he used will be staying in the video. So bear that in mind if you continue to watch. But all the best, everyone, and I hope you enjoy the interview as much as I did. Facility, much love, my man. Peace out. Mate, how you doing, buddy?
What? No, I'm kidding. I'm good. I'm good.
Mate, been a while coming. I had a lot of issues at my end with internet, and then we had the cyclone, and but finally back on deck, and going to start pumping these out more regularly. Um, Before we go any further, folks, this episode is brought to you by our proud sponsor, Lid Hosting. If you would like to know more about them, I've got a timer set with commands that will pop up in chat, but you can just type !Lid, LYD, and that'll give you a link to checking them out. They do servers in the EU, and great for someone looking to start and test their foot with dip their foot into, their toes into the water, to see what it's like to actually run a server. So, my man, Facility, love the shirt, by the way.
Yeah. Kill them all.
Fucking
You can
oath.
grab one of these shirts too. I have these in my store.
Hey, make sure you put a link, mate. Make sure you put a link for that. But yeah, I actually probably need to get one of them as well, because I'm very outspoken on that sort of stuff. But yeah, we've got
I
a
get
few people in
compliments on
chat
it.
there. Yeah, fucking oath, mate. We've got Shane B. Oh, snap. Get your wieners out, boys. Grab your prosthetic wiener, ladies. Dave H., the man, the myth, the legend. And Salty Sticks, sup, back at you, buddy. So,
Oh
Facility,
yeah.
mate, we've got quite a bit to cover in today's episode, because I've moved away from just doing the Daisy podcast, as everyone knows. And what I'm talking to more about is Daisy is just this weird game. And yeah, I know a lot of games have it, but for me, yeah, I'm very immersed in the Daisy community. But Daisy's this weird game where there is such a big, strong community around it. Even though, a lot of people talk about, oh, they're always so bitching and divided and all the rest of it. That's just normal. That's just normal. You get that in every aspect of society. But as a community, um, we are pretty tight.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Some of us are, some of us aren't. So people bitch just because they want to bitch. They have nothing else to offer. They just want to complain.
You know, I'm not even really going to spend too much time talking about them, mate, because there's always those sorts of eggs in every community, the bad eggs, who, what did I hear said the other day? Um, the worse I view the world, the better a person I am, is how a lot of people, their guilt for stuff they didn't do, and guilt for stuff they've got no control over. If that's what's going to float their boat, you do you, boo. But I want nothing to do with you.
Right.
Um, I much prefer, trying. I know I can sometimes fail, but trying to be involved in positivity as much as possible. And that's where, I love someone like yourself, mate. You're a pretty based, fucking down to earth bloke, and you call a spade a spade. And if anyone tries to tell you no, it's a shovel, shut the fuck up. It's a spade.
Well, I
You,
mean, if
you
they try
don't.
to tell me, if they try to tell me it's not a spade, okay, I don't care. I don't care what anybody's opinion is.
It's a spade to me, and that's all that matters.
Yep, it's not going to change. I'm gonna no, no. Let me take that back. It could change feel free to educate me on it. But most people don't want to educate you. They just want to bitch and moan about it. But yeah, so I mean, I have my beliefs on shit, and if you disagree with me, cool. Not mad at you. Go do your thing. Go live your life. Be happy.
There you go. Fight. There's fighting words in chat there, mate. Dorkwing. It's a shovel. I fucking love Dorkwing. But mate, one of the things I've been trying to focus on is mental health, and you've got a really really interesting story of you've got just looking at you. Some people might say it's the 1,000 yard stare sort of thing. You've seen some shit. You've been through some shit in your life, and you filled me in a bit in the lead up to this episode and that. But I want to go back, mate. So um, let's find out a bit about Facility the Man, the myth, the legend. Tell us a bit about your story, mate, from back when you were a young fella and that. How old are you? Were you gaming back then, and what got you into gaming? And
Oh shit. So when so first of all, my biological dad has never claimed me. He's never been around, completely out of the picture. He was married and already had a family of his own. My mom was married and she
even
cheated
to
on
this day,
yeah, to this day. Like I've spoken to him on the phone once and told him who I was and I was like, "Hey, you used to fuck my mom and this and that or whatever." And he's like, "Nope, we were just friends. Don't ever call here again." But he has a son with his wife that looks just like me. Like we're damn near identical. Um,
have you met the son?
I haven't met any of them in person.
Yeah.
Um, I think I've seen my biological dad once, as a matter of fact, when I was a small kid. I think my mom was talking to him when I was in the car, and that was about 2 minutes before I set the car on fire. But we can get to that later. Um, yeah, I've reached out to the son and stuff like that, and he was kind of blown away. He's like, "Damn, dude, we look just alike." He's like, "I've always kind of had that feeling that somebody else, like I had a brother out there because he knew his dad was a cheater, but they've never, really wanted to talk or meet up or nothing like that." I
It,
tried to meet
it's
up
it's
with.
it's weird with that sort of stuff, mate. And there's so much more of it becoming prevalent these days with DNA check kits and all the rest of it. I think I've said it before, but it's weird how some people react, even when the evidence is there. I found out that both of my granddads were unfaithful to their wives, and admittedly, in their defense, it both happened when they were soldiers signed up for World War II. And I imagine it was, well, I'm going overseas, I might die. Any port in a storm, get one last ride on the pony before I go. And they both fathered illegitimate children, and we knew about on my mother's side, but we didn't know about my father's side, and he's passed on. And there was only one of his children left, and I thought, well, she probably want to know. And I called her, and she was horrified. My father was a good man. He would. I don't want to know about this, and it was kind of sad because we all make mistakes. It doesn't mean you're not a good person, but for whatever reason, be it religion or old school values or anything like that, some people just can't handle taking the responsibility or even just being aware that someone made war babies, but someone made a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like you and I were talking earlier. There's some shit you can do that's unforgivable.
Yes,
Some shit like
for
this,
sure.
but um, yeah, I don't know, dude. I've never really been a cheater either, so I think in my entire life I've cheated twice, and once when I was 18, and once as I was exiting a toxic 4-year relationship. So that's about it. And even in that one, like I was faithful damn near to the end, even though she was out fucking half the town. But whatever, you know. But yeah. So my biological dad was never around. The guy that my mom was married to when she cheated and got pregnant with me, um, they had a daughter that about 2 years before I was born. My sister Amanda. Um, she lived with my mom. So her and I both lived with my mom for a little bit, and then I say when I was probably about 3, my sister went to live with her dad, and I stayed with my mom. And my mom was, a drug addict, still is, and we lived in this rundown trailer house on a bad side of town. She had a bunch of friends over. Everybody's doing drugs. I'm sitting on the floor watching Dukes of Hazzard because it was my shit back in the day. She's in the kitchen cooking lima beans because I used to love lima beans, dude. Next thing you know, boom, door flies open, cops rush in, pointing guns at everybody, take us outside. They got all her friends and shit like cuffed and lined up against the trailer. And a cop is holding me in his arms like this and tells my mom to come over to the car. And laying on the trunk of his car are consent to search papers. So they legally raided a house and then held a gun to my head and told my mom to sign those papers or else.
Fuck
And
me.
so she signed them. They went inside, planted more drugs, took them to jail. I went to go live with my sister and legal dad. And I lived with them until I was 4 until about 12. And those first 4 years that I lived with my mom too, like I grew up in a bar, basically, a biker bar. And was drinking at an early age and shit like that. I got a little scar on my eyebrow here when I first learned to walk. I took a sip of a beer and fell and hit the coffee table. But yeah, then I went to live with my legal dad and my sister, and that was an experience. I don't know if it was worse or not, but we lived in filth. My dad didn't know how to care for children. He didn't know how to love children. He didn't know how to do anything. He went to work, paid the bills, put food on the table, didn't put didn't really put many clothes on my back. Um, and like that was
Did,
it.
did he
And
know? Did he know you weren't his kid?
I'm not sure exactly. I think maybe he had an idea. My mom says that he thought that I was his for a while, and then she told him, and he didn't believe it or something. I'm not real sure. So, and I mean, I still don't know. But yeah, I mean, we lived in filth, dude. We had carpet throughout our house, right? But you could only see a trail of that carpet because there was so much trash piled up in every room, roach infested, spider infested. I could open up a drink, a soda, take a drink, set it down, do something like this, turn back around, boom, there's roaches on it. Like it was that bad.
Wow.
If somebody
How
would have
old were
seen it
you?
in 4 to 12,
Fuck me.
yeah. And he was a piece of shit, you know. He didn't care what I did as long as I didn't interrupt what he was doing. If I interrupted what he was doing, then I get my ass whooped, or well, there is no or. I'd get my ass whooped, but you know, along with that came the daily fucking reminder of you're fucking worthless, pathetic, stupid son of a bitch, things like that. And when you're a little kid and you hear that, dude, like every day, like that fucks you up a little bit. And so at age 7, I'm 7, I'm not too bright, but I know I didn't want to be there anymore. So I took a shoestring and tied it around my neck and tied it in the closet and tried to fucking off myself, but the damn shoestring broke. So I guess I didn't think that one out too much. But
Probably made in China, mate.
yeah, yeah.
Good thing you didn't use a quality American shoestring.
I know. God damn, I'll do that next time. Uh
And look, guys, just if you're sitting here going, Jesus Christ, Boydie, I know facility, and we both share very, very similar dark senses of humor, and that it's a coping mechanism to an extent. If you don't laugh, you go crazy, don't you? Facility.
you can, yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, dealt with that shit for a while. Uh, would go to school with and wear the same fucking pair of pants every day because he wouldn't buy me shit. he would buy my sister clothes, but he wouldn't buy me clothes. So I had like one pair of pants, 5 shirts, and that was it for like the school year. And so I got picked on a little bit at school. I got bullied a little bit, but typically the bullied becomes a bully or becomes a bully themselves. So I bullied a little bit too. Um, and I was remember bullying this one kid, and he got up and whooped my ass. And
Well,
you
like I
know,
said to you, and you agreed. I think everyone needs to get their ass whooped at least once in life.
oh yeah,
It's a humbling experience.
yeah,
How you
most
react
definitely.
to it is not always the same, but you know, yeah, I've had my ass whooped and I learned from it.
Yeah, yeah, he put them hands on me, dude. He was significantly smaller than me too. The little fucker was fast. But I ended up messaging him because I ended up moving uh away from my dad and back in with my mom when I was 12. And so I didn't see that kid a whole lot anymore. And probably about 10 years ago, I hit him up on Facebook and I thanked him for that ass whooping. And we kind of laughed about it a little bit. But yeah, yeah, it was an interesting time. um Me and my sister fought every day, fucking hated each other. Um, my dad, he would buy me video games and shit, and that's because he liked video games. He was a computer nerd. Um, when I when I lived with him, I think when I first moved in with him, there was a period where my sister was living with his mom. So she was staying with my, don't even know what you want to call her since he's like my legal dad. Um, yeah, so there was a short period of time where she stayed with the grandma, and then it was just me and him, and we stayed in this really small studio apartment.
The grandma being your father's mother or your mother's mother.
My legal dad's mother.
Yep.
My mom's mom was also a junkie. Her entire family's a junkie or junkies. So it was me and my dad in this small studio apartment, not the best neighborhood, and that's where I started. That's where I found out about video games. I started on a Commodore VIC 20. Don't remember what the fuck I was playing. Went to I messed with that, and then we got a Commodore 64, and then he had an Atari. So I would spend a lot of time on the Atari.
Mhm.
Um, be in a studio apartment, like it's all open and shit. And I remember being 4, all the lights were off. I'm sitting in the floor in front of the TV playing Atari, and I turn around and look, and behind me is his bed. And I turn around and look, and he's laying there butt ass naked, getting a blowjob from some hooker. And I just turned back around and kept playing. So I always thought it was my mom, and she's like, "That wasn't me." So I was like, "Hey, it must have been a hooker then," because that was the type of neighborhood we were in anyway. But yeah, we ended up getting a house, and that was when the sister moved back in with us, and then everything was filthy and shit. And a buddy of mine had gotten a Nintendo, like the original Nintendo, for Christmas, and so I was playing Zelda and Mario and all kinds of shit like that when it first came out, and told my dad about it, so he got me one, and I was balls deep in the game. And after that, I went through Nintendo. Dude, those Nintendos back in the day could take a beating
Yeah.
because I had so many anger issues back then. I literally would jump up and down on my Nintendo and stomp it, throw it up against the wall, hit it with a hammer, all kinds of shit, and it still fucking worked. You just still had to blow in the cartridge, but
Yeah.
everything, or put another one in on top of it, but like it was they don't build shit like that anymore, dude. That and those
No.
metal Tonka trucks they used to have, they just don't build shit the way they used to, man. But
Tonka tough,
yeah,
mate. And it sounds
exactly.
like uh, your childhood helped you become quite Tonka tough. But when did you find BJJ or martial arts in general? Did you start off with BJJ or?
No, so I don't know why I took an interest in martial arts. Um, I don't know. I can't recall like one specific time or movie or game or whatever that just made me click with that. Um, I do remember though when the first Ninja Turtles movie came out.
Oh,
Yeah, and
do
I
you remember?
watched that.
Do you remember that awesome song?
Are you talking about the Vanilla Ice one or the one at the credits?
The I'm not sure if it was Vanilla Ice, but didn't the Turtles do a rap song?
Yeah, they did one in part two with Vanilla Ice when they
Yeah,
were all doing that, all
yeah.
that shit. But there's also a rap song at the end of the credits on part one too.
I'll have to check that
Um,
again. Those
but
costumes were awesome.
dude, they really were. Yeah, they were
Yeah,
great, man. Um, I do remember watching the shit out of the Ninja Turtle movie, so over and over and over. I had a friend at school that was in Taekwondo, and so I asked him about it. Dad went and signed me up, and I remember first day sparring my instructor. Like I had been, you know how Splinter mimicked moves and shit in his cage.
yep,
As I'm watching the movie, I'm trying to mimic fucking moves as a kid and shit, you know. So like I knew how to throw like spinning back kick and all this type of shit. I had good flexibility and fucking went in there and was sparring the instructor and shit and throw like a roundhouse with a spinning back kick and all this type of shit. And he's like, "How do you know how to do that?" Watching Ninja Turtles. He's like, "All right, cool." He kept blocking my kicks with his elbows, and both of my shins were beat the fuck up at the end.
yep.
And so I stuck with that for a little bit. I think I trained for probably about 2 or 3 years. Yeah, I think two, from 11 to 13, I think. Um, when I was 12, on my 12th birthday, I moved back in with my mom in a different town. And my instructor wanted me to keep training. So he opened up a school in my mom's town so that I could keep training.
What a Chad.
Uh, and then, he wasn't able to make it. So he sent two of his black belts up there to teach. And Matt and Mark were their names. And they were brothers. Um, Mark, I think, was the younger one. I think he was like 17 and I was 12. And then, by the time I'm 13, like I'm fucking him up and sparring. And then they started having me teach adults. And I'm like, I don't know how to teach. And they're like, just teach the same way that we teach you. Okay. So here I am, fucking 13 years old, having a 44-year-old woman do push ups because her form sucks. And yeah, that was fucking awkward. And she didn't stick around very much longer. And neither did I. It was like I'm paying money not to teach. I'm paying money because I want to learn. And they could see my motivation going down on it too. He's like, you used to be fast, and now you're all like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm bored, dude. I don't want to teach. So I quit. And then that place closed down, and I didn't do any martial arts after that, other than just mimicking pro wrestling shit on my friends in the yard. I still liked martial arts movies though. Like, I used to love the Van Damme movie, Steven
Yep.
Seagal. Fucking Best of the Best is one of the greatest fucking martial arts movies ever. I love that movie. Um, yeah, I mean, if there was a martial arts movie, I'd watch it. Didn't really care who was in it or what. And then back in the day, the USA Network in June they showed kung fu movies every weekend for the entire month, and so I used to watch that too. Um, I ran the streets for a lot of time after that. Out on the streets, fucking drinking, smoking, breaking into buildings just for the thrill of it, all kinds of shit.
Probably a bit of attitude because you knew how to look after yourself now after your bit of training and that as well. Probably like a lot of young kids, you thought you were 10 foot tall and bulletproof.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, I don't know. I kind of did, but I also kind of knew my place. I've always felt like I've I've known my place on a totem pole. You know, I don't know. I've never really been too cocky. I just know who I am. I know what I'm capable of doing, but I also know what I'm not capable of doing.
That's one of the things I will definitely testify to. You in the we we know each other well, but we don't really talk all the time. But in every interaction I've ever had with you, you're not a fucking big noter. But when you state something, you're stating it because it's a fact. And sometimes, it's yeah, someone who wasn't humble might look at it and go, "Oh, this guy thinks he's a shit." It's like, no, you're not stating it because you think you're this, that, or the other thing. It's just that's the way you view it, and that's one of the things I've always admired about you. You know that it's really I don't even know the right word for it. It's insane hearing this background to your life story, um, and seeing the man that you are now, because yeah, at so many opportunity or so many points in your timeline, you could have gone, and we've still got a lot more to cover, but it could have gone very very badly for you. Yeah, you could be in jail. Yeah, you look at so many of these people who commit some of these terrible, horrible crimes that happen, and so often the common recurring anthem there is a fucked up childhood, and yeah, there's a lot worse that could happen. And like I said, we're still in your childhood, so you might tell me there's worse to come. But some people never recover from it. Others use it to help them rise out of that, which is what it seems like you've done. But yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I always figured that I wouldn't make it to 17. I always thought that I would be in jail or dead, and I had plenty of people telling me that too. So, you know, I don't know. I guess if you believe in being a product of your environment, then I should be dead. I should be in jail. I should be a junkie or something because I was surrounded by that shit for a very long time. All of my old friends are either junkies or dead. One of my best friends died in a gas station bathroom on an overdose while his wife and two kids were in the car.
wow.
And that was maybe 3, 4 years ago. He was a good dude to me. He was good to his kids. Um, maybe not so good to the wife. But yeah, it was just all the drugs, dude. All of my friends have been to fucking jail for drugs and shit, and I've never like I've experimented with some stuff, but I've never done anything on the regular except for maybe popping a couple pills and going to the club or something. But I don't do shit anymore. I really don't. I gave up smoking. I got a bottle of fucking peach Crown Royal down here that my coach bought me like 4 years ago, and it's like still half full. And just I might like take a sip of it every once in a while, but nothing like that appeals to me.
Yeah.
Plus, I feel like shit afterwards. I feel like shit the next morning, when I have to get up and go teach class or go train or something, and I'm not trying to do all that. Just not into it, you know.
So back to your childhood and that. So you're now running the streets, being a little punk, breaking enters, and all that sort of stuff. What happens next?
Yeah, thinking I'm a little thug and shit, out trying to gangbang or whatever. Spent a lot of time in the hood, you know,
What time frame? What year? What decade are we talking about here? I'm guessing the late
90s.
'80s, early '90s. Yep.
Yeah, 90s. Well, even in the 80s too, dude. Like when I was a small kid living with my dad, like I would go wherever the fuck I want. I'd be 6, 7 years old walking home at 4 o'clock in the morning, from my friend's house or something. Go walking down the highway and just as like I said, as long as I wasn't interrupting what he was doing, didn't fucking care. Um, there was, oh yeah, there was some other shit too that I forgot to mention. Apparently, when I lived with my mom from when I was 1 to 4, this was something she told me. I don't really remember, but when she was hooking, when she was selling ass in the back seat of a car, she would leave me in the front seat. And so I think I saw some things, and I think that's why I knew some things before I should have. Um, and when I was 5, um, a girl that was 12, I thought, when you're a little kid and you go to your dad's best friend's house a lot, you start calling that dude like your uncle or whatever, So like, I thought, I thought Bill was my uncle, and I thought his daughter Trina was my sister, or not my sister, my cousin. And then like she started messing with me. She was 12, I was 5, I think, somewhere around there, and like she was, sucking my dick. And like that never really that just made me know more things
Yeah.
than I should have. But I don't feel like that really fucked me up in like a bad way, you know? Like I've never had thoughts of becoming what she was or nothing like that. I just make jokes about it. It's like I got my dick sucked before you did, Boydie. So yeah. I figured if I ever write a stand up comedy thing, like I'm gonna use something like that in there. But
Definite shades of Gary Plachey's son's humor there, mate.
yeah, yeah. I don't condone anything like that or whatever, but that's what happened to me. And if an older guy does that to a chick, we put him down, fucking shoot his ass or whatever. But like when you're not you, but me as a younger kid, like I can look back on that shit and just fucking laugh and crack jokes about it because I got a fucked up sense of humor. And so I'm sure that get taken out of context at some point, but I don't fucking care. Do what you want.
Cancel me, bitch.
Yeah, you can't cancel somebody that don't care. I say it all the time. I don't fucking care.
Mhm.
But anyhow, back to the '90s. Yeah, I was hanging out in the projects and stuff like that. Um, I had a lot of friends that were white, a lot that were black, and so it's like sometimes and a lot of times
So he hates Latinos, folks.
exactly. Actually, I did have a few Hispanic friends too, because where I
So
lived,
he hates Koreans, folks.
yeah, there were no Koreans around. Um, but yeah, I did have a couple Hispanic friends that were gangbangers too. Um, Shit, where was I going with this? Oh yeah. I was walking home one night, um, 15 years old. Fucking truck pulls up beside me, pulls out a gun. It's three dudes in a red truck wearing blue bandanas, which I thought was funny. And they point a fucking revolver at me and ask me for my money. And like there was some distance between us, so like I couldn't hear him. And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Give me your fucking money." And I was like, "I ain't got no fucking money." Because at this point I didn't care if I lived or die, so I would just talk shit. And he's like, "Bitch, I ain't playing. You better give me your fucking money before I shoot you." I said, "You gonna shoot me for being broke? Then fucking do it already, dude." And he pulled the hammer back, and then another car started coming, so they took off. And then I just fucking walked home, and like that was that. Wasn't the first time I've had a gun pointed at me. Wasn't the last. So I mean, I've been
Did
shot
that
at.
did that have did that incident have any after effect on you? Yeah, at the time you've got all the adrenaline pumping and that, but quite often when that adrenaline leaves the system and that, how were you after that?
That was fine. There was the adrenaline, yeah, but after that, like I mean, because it was late, I went home and went to sleep. I went in, told my mom about it, and then went to sleep.
Because this was fairly normal. You said it wasn't the first time you'd had a gun
Yeah,
pointed at you. So, what about the very first time? Other than when the cops pointed the one at your head to get your mum to sign the documents and that, but what was that like? How old were you when that first happened?
aside from the one with the cops, aside from that one, because I was 4 when that one happened, but aside from that one, walking home was the next time. And then no, I apologize. Let me take that back. Uh, so I was probably about 15 when I was walking home that night, and they stopped and pulled the gun. When I was, because I remember this because I lived on a different street. So that was when I lived on Monroe Street. When I lived on Sunset Street,
What
I was a little
whereabouts is this? What whereabouts in America is this?
East Texas.
Yep.
And so when I lived on Sunset Street, I was a little bit younger. I was 12 to maybe 14. And me and a buddy are walking home, and SUV starts driving by and starts popping shots at us. And we take off running. And there was this Hispanic church like on the corner of these two rows and shit. and they have a rampway for like, wheelchair. So the ramp goes up, and then it goes even, and then if you turn, it goes into the door. Well, like right here on the corner where it turns, there's like that iron fucking that's shaped like a square, and it's the guardrail thing.
Mhm.
They were popping shots, and it was pitch dark and like really couldn't see. And I hit that fucking guardrail so goddamn hard that I bent it with my thigh. And I flipped over, landed face down, and just fucking laid there until they drove off because they drove by, shot, and then backed up and came back slow, and then put it in drive and went back
Do
slow
you know
again.
why they were shooting at you?
Don't know. Don't know, dude. Just it was a rough neighborhood. And so I just laid there until they fucking drove off, and then I could hear my friend that was with me. He was like hiding behind a car. He's like, "You okay?" He's like, "Did you get hit?" And I'm like, "Dude, I think my leg's fucking broken." But it wasn't. Like he had to help me finish the walk home and stuff. But yeah, that was wild too. That was the first time I'd ever been shot at. And I don't know, man. I've had people, I don't know if they were like, trying to joke around or what, but like we'd be at a party and somebody would, have a gun and be like, "Oh man, I shoot this motherfucker right here," stuff like that, and point it at me, and I just walk up to it and like this gun, like just put my head against the fucking barrel and tell him to do it. Quit being a bitch. But never been shot though. I did watch my mom shoot my stepdad though. That was interesting. My stepdad was abusive too, and he was into drugs and shit. Because my mom had kind of cleaned up a little bit by the time I had moved back in, and
Wait,
she was a
wait, wait. Back that up. Say that again. You saw who shoot who?
I saw my mom shoot my stepdad. When by the time I had moved back in with my mom, when I was 12, she gotten remarried. She had kind of cleaned up a little bit. She was a traveling CNA. My stepdad did upholstery for a living, and he was also abusive to her too. Um, he liked to drink on weekends. He liked to drink, if he's watching football. Um, I watched him beat the shit out of her one day because the cable bill didn't get paid and he couldn't watch football. Um, and I mean, he was just a fucking bitch, dude. Like before I knew about that, I was happy to have him in my life. I was like, oh, this guy's cool. He would hang out and play video games with us. He would fucking jam out to music with us. He was only 15 years older than I am. And like he was just like one of the bros. But it turned out he was far from it. He was a fucking piece of shit. And yeah, I remember he only put his hands on me once. And we were real big into pro wrestling, and we would like have wrestling matches in the house or, whatever. And then, like he would get me in, a submission or whatever, and some hold I couldn't get out of, and then I'd be like, okay, I quit. And then we let go, we fucking go again. And this particular night, like I run into the living room, I lay on the couch because I still think that we're wrestling. So like I go and I lay down on the couch and like I'm, waiting, like let's get this shit going. Giggity. And he's like he's like, get up. And I was like, oh, you gotta work for this spot. Because he would always tell me that too. It's like if I say I wanted something, he's like, you gotta work for it. So I was joking around with him, like, you gotta work for it. Well, he didn't like that. So we start wrestling a little bit. He gets me face down on the couch and has my arm up behind my back. I can't get out. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I quit. He pushes up some more. And I'm like, dude, you hurt me. Like, let go. I quit. I'll get up. He pushes up on it some more, and I feel a pop in my arm. He didn't break anything, but some shit popped, and it scared me. And so the coffee table was kind of next to the couch. I kick it over, and then he jumps on me and starts fucking punching me in the side of the head about 4 times. picks me up, throws me into another coffee table. I get up, tell him I'm gonna fucking kill him, and go to my room. And then he comes in there and starts talking about being a man and shit. And that was when I completely lost respect for him. And so I called up a buddy of mine. I was like, hey man, you know where I can get a gun? And he's like, my brother has guns. Like, what are you trying to do? And I was like, well, I'm trying to shoot my stepdad. And he's like, what? Why? And I was like, because he just beat the shit out of me. And I'm tired of him beating on my mom. And he's like, well, yeah. He's like, I could get it for you. And I was like, all right, cool. So he gets me a Glock. He brings it to school with him and to me. I take it home. So he wasn't able to get the ammo yet because I don't know why. I don't know why he couldn't get the ammo yet. He's like, I couldn't get the ammo, but I'll get it for you here in the next couple of days. So I take the gun and I go in my room with it, and there was a hole in my my closet has the sliding doors, and then like there's a hole in some of the drywall because we were planning on knocking that shit out and just expanding. And we had a friend of the family over named Terry. Well, Terry saw me put the gun in there. And so when I came home the next day after school, that was the first place I went, to the closet, just to make sure it was still there, and it wasn't there. So he had told my mom about it. My mom went and got the gun and threw it in a fucking lake. And when I'm in there looking for it, she comes in there and she's like, hey, get in the car with me. I want you to go somewhere with me. I'm like, okay. I thought that was kind of odd. So I get in the car with her and I was like, did you go in my room? She's like, yeah, I found it and I threw it in the lake. And I'm like, the fuck, dude? Like, that's not mine. She's like, I don't care. She's like, if anybody's going to have a gun in this house, it's going to be me. And I'm a felon, so I can't have one. And she's like, what were you going to do with it anyway? And I said, I was going to kill James. And she's like, for what? And I was like, because he keeps beating the shit out of you and he hit me. She's like, well, I can take care of myself. And she asked me how, like, when I was going to do it. And I said, I was going to catch him while he was sleeping. I was going to fucking mag dump. And she took me to some place called Access, like some mental health fucking place. And they're all asking me all these questions and, you know, what my intentions were and all this type of shit. And I told them everything. And then she asked me if I wanted to go to this place. I think it was called Pinelands Hospital. It was like a psychiatric institute. And I was like, not really. And she's like, well, just think about it. You know, you'd be in there for a couple weeks. They would just check you out, make sure everything's good to go. And I was like, well, I don't really want to go. And I was thinking to myself, like, I did do some serious shit. You know, it's premeditation of murder. And I was like, so if I don't go, then they may force me to go to some place I really don't want to go. So I agreed. So I went. And that was kind of a weird fucking place, dude. Like, bunch of teenagers, extremely strict rules. Like, you can't whisper to anybody. You can't give no one a high five. You cannot touch anybody in any way, shape, or form. You can't stare at anybody. If you do, you have to take what they call timeouts. You have to go sit up against a wall, straight up, either Indian style or with your legs straight out in front of you and your hands on your lap for 5 minutes. Can't look at nobody, can't say nothing to nobody, can't move, or your time restarts. And I was in there for about 2 weeks. Got restrained a couple times for trying to fight some of the staff. And then they ended up letting me out. And the day that they were releasing me, some lady from the state had suggested that I go to this other place called the Hope Center, and it was like outdoor living. Like, the toilets are outside. There's no door on them. It's just like tarp that covers like 3/4 of it. You have to, you know, go fishing and catch your food. And he's basically teaching you some outdoor skills and shit. And, you know, you have to work together as a team and all this type of stuff. And she set up a time for me to go out there and check it out. Like, she insisted. So we went, and she's like, are you ready? And I'm like, no, because I'm not fucking staying. And she's like, well, you just go take a tour with this guy, then come back and we'll talk. So I go take a tour, and he's like, hey, how you doing, John? I'm like, you can save your breath, dude. I'm not staying. He's like, okay. He's like, well, I still have to explain things to you and this and that. And I'm like, all right, whatever. We go do the tour, come back, and the lady from the state, my mom, and my legal dad are all over there talking next to the vehicles and stuff. And she had my dad. So I went back over there and she's like, well, what do you think? Do you want to stay? And I'm like, no, I don't want to stay. I told you that before we got here. This was pointless. And she's like, well, since you don't want to stay, you're not allowed to go back to Jacksonville, which was the town that my mom lived in. Um, she's like, you are banned from going back to Jacksonville ever. And while you were gone, I had your mom and dad sign these papers saying you're going to go live with your dad. You cannot go back to Jacksonville. And basically, that was that. And
Wait,
she
wait,
gave
wait,
me
wait. They're gonna make you go and stay with your stepdad.
with my legal dad
Ah, okay.
in the filth house. That was in a different town. And so she gave me the paper to read it, and I crumpled it up and threw it in her face, and then busted the window out of her car. And funny thing is that she lived a couple houses down from my mom and stepdad, and I saw her a couple years later. But
Can I
yeah,
ask what was your stepdad like after this? Because he obviously knew by then that you planned to kill him.
yeah. From what I gathered from my mom, he was hurt a little bit. He's like, I don't ever want him back here, but I can't stop loving him. Um, I did end up going back, just because it was so shitty at my dad's house. There was no outside life at my dad's house, and it was still just infested with roaches and filth and cat shit and piss and completely disgusting. That house would have been condemned had the state seen it for sure. Um, so I
So
went to
the state. This is obviously something like DCS, Department of Child Services,
yeah.
is sending you to live in a house that is filthy. So they either did an inspection and didn't care, or didn't do an inspection and were just going to send you there so they could close off. Fuck me, that is bad. That is
I don't
really fucking bad.
I don't think they inspected it because if they would have, they would have taken custody of my sister too. But I didn't stay at my dad's house very long, and then because I didn't want to stay there, I went to stay with a friend of mine and his family. So the friend, his name was Shane. His mom and my mom were also good friends, and so they were in a different town called Nacogdoches. Um, and so I stayed with them for a little bit, and went back to school. Not went back 'cause I hadn't dropped out yet, but I was going to school there. I repeated. What grade did I repeat there? I think I was ninth. Yeah, I was ninth grade, I think it was. And there was a lot of gangs in that school and shit too. And I didn't stay there for very long because his mom tried to ground me for 6 weeks because I failed a class. Failed all of them actually. And I was like, I'm not doing this shit. You're not gonna tell me I can't use a phone or go wherever I want because I failed fucking school. So I called my dad to come get me again, my legal dad. So I went back to stay there. At least there, like I still had, if I would have stayed with my friend and his mom and shit, like I couldn't have gotten on the internet or nothing like that, if they would have gotten it. This was like late 95. Um, and so I called my dad and I went back to stay with him. And we got the internet there. And fucking ran the AOL bill up super high and all kinds of shit. Started watching porn. Um, I I think I had a little porn addiction, to be honest. I think out of and I don't think I've ever told anybody this. No one ever. Not even my old lady. But I think if I have any type of issue with addiction or something, it could be fucking porn. It could be internet porn. Um, but that is something that I am trying to completely weed
That
out.
so that's why you moved the hand cream in the box of tissues before the stream started.
Well, I still have this one here. you know? So I just kind of spit on this one and then just use this one. By the way, I just got all of you guys with this, by the way, so slap your necks.
That's good. That's good.
but uh but yeah, dude, like I don't know if you want too much info or not, but I think it's funny. When I first got into internet porn and I was like 15, dude, I jerked off like 16 times in one day.
Patty, don't hold back. Facility and I, like, this interview is obviously not going to get monetized. I don't care about that. I don't do that for this. This is just a chance to share experiences and talk about the struggles that we all go through. And if you've got some funny comments, post them in there. Fucking Facility, like this is also like some of the jokes I've been getting in is me getting back at him for the comments he posts in other streams that I do, and he knows that's coming. He knows it's
Yeah.
coming. So yeah, we're good. You just let rip. Nothing's off the table other than stuff that will get you in trouble with terms of service and all the rest of it. But we're just having a chat. So yeah,
Yeah,
carry on, mate.
Patty already knows she's not going to hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
um trying to pick up, trying to see where I
What,
left off at.
what's your favorite type of porn? Tentacle or midget?
Um Truth be told, I like Latinas, dude. I just do. I don't know why, but I've always had a thing for Latinas. But yeah, I don't know, dude.
You like them spicy?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. I I like a woman that can take a dick
Have
because
you
my
seen
last
that
one couldn't.
Andrew Schultz session where the guy's on a date with the Latino, um, and he refers to the wetbacks comment? If you haven't, we're not going to go into it because that would probably get us fucking shut down. He can say that because he's a comedian, but very very funny skit. Very funny
Is
skit.
is that on his newest special?
Not sure. No, I think it's on one of his older ones.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah, very
I've
funny,
I've
very
probably
funny.
seen it then, but I haven't watched his new one yet. It's on my to-do list. Um so yeah, I ended up going back living with my legal dad. Um got access to the internet, was in, some chat rooms fucking around, like no crazy chat rooms, just regular chat rooms. Downloading little fucking 30-second quick time videos of porn and shit, because that's what you could do back then with fucking dial up. And fucking wearing it out. But because of because I had access to the internet and it was just a whole new, because it was still kind of new back then, in 95, I ended up dropping out of school
What
completely.
grade?
Ninth.
Yep.
Yeah. My dad got to the point to where he wouldn't even ask me. Like, he used to come in there and say, "Hey, time to get up." And if I didn't respond, he used to grab me by my leg and pull me out of the bed. As I got older, he stopped pulling me out of the fucking bed. And then he would come in and he'd say, "Hey, are you going?" And I'm like, "No." And then it got to a point where he just didn't ask anymore. And so I just stopped going. And I stayed, I continued to live with him for a little bit. And then I wanted to go back to Jacksonville. So when I went back to Jacksonville, I stayed with another friend of mine and his dad. And his dad was probably the best father figure I've ever had. Like, he was a man, you know. He was tough on me. Like, he would make me get out in the yard and fucking help him clean up his garden and shit like that. But he put food on my table, or on the table. He made sure I had clothes on my back. Like, he took care of me. And I do consider him probably the best male role model I've probably ever had. Um, and so I lived with them for a little bit. I would kind of go back and forth between staying there and then going back and staying with my mom and stepdad, because I didn't want to like wear out my welcome. I always felt like if I stayed somewhere too long, I might wear out the welcome. So I'd kind of go back and forth. And when I went back to my mom and stepdad's house. It was a little awkward between him and I. Like if we spoke, it was like, just a single word or something like that. Um, and then things kind of started smoothing back out. But my friend's dad,
Did he
oh
ever?
man,
Did he ever stop? Did he ever just sit you down and talk about it?
my stepdad,
Apologize or yeah?
no, never apologized for it, nothing like that. I think because he never hit me after that. That was the one and only time, and so and he knew that I went and got a gun that I was going to do it, and I think he knew that if he ever did it again, that I was going to fucking kill him. He did continue to beat on my mom though, and plot twist, come to find out later, my mom is the one that told him to hit me. So at that point, I stopped giving a shit about him hitting her. And otherwise, I probably just went and got another gun and tried to take him out. But yeah, he continued to beat on her. Um, when I was, I think, 17 or 18, I was still living there with my mom and stepdad. Uh, my girlfriend, I had went and picked her up and brought her to our place when we were hanging out. She goes to the bathroom and she hears this noise outside. So she looks out the window and she sees my stepdad banging my mom's head up against the fucking house. And she comes in there and tells me, and I run out there and get in the middle of them, like break them up. And they're talking shit and this and that or whatever. My mom tells me, take the van, which was my stepdad's work van. Take the van, take her home, and then come back because I need you here. And she had told me, let me see, I don't want to get things mixed up. I think I went, yeah, so I went and took her home, come back, and my mom is in her car. And she's like, hey, get in the car with me. So I get in the car, and stepdad is inside. Mom starts ramming the house with her car. It's a brick house, and you can see the wall like fucking swaying. He comes outside yelling and screaming and shit and picks up a huge like garden rock and throws it at the windshield. Okay. Before my mom started ramming the house, she had her 380 and she set it on my lap. She said, hold this. So then she starts ramming. He comes out, throws the rock. The rock lands on the windshield right in front of my face. She stops, opens the car door, steps 1 foot out, grabs that gun off my lap, and holds it sideways and fucking pops off 3 shots. And the last one hit him in the shoulder. It hit him in the right shoulder, hit a bone, and came out like kind of back here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He grabs his arm or grabs his shoulder, turns around, runs inside. He said he had told us later that he was expecting her to come in and finish him. And so he was waiting right there by the door with an axe. So after she shoots him, she we she gets in the car, she leaves, she tells me take the van and get the fuck out. So we kind of separate. We're passing the cops up, going down Kickapoo Street. It's a 30-mile-an-hour zone. We're doing 85, and the cops are passing us going to the house. So go and like stash the van like off by some railroad tracks and shit. Walk to my friend's house. My mom's hiding out for about 3 days, and then finally turns herself in. She did probably, I think, like 3 or 4 days in, and then he bailed her out. My stepdad bailed her out, and they stayed together for shit a few more years, dude. Quite a few more years. I think they stayed together for like another 10, 10 years or so. But it was nuts, dude. Um, at the
Crazy
time, it was like,
begets crazy.
yeah, it was like it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. But yeah, it was wild. So I ended up going back and staying, like I said before, I was kind of bouncing back and forth between my mom's house and my friend's house. And so my friend's dad, um, his name was Billy. He had had an open heart surgery like 10 years prior. Okay. So, and his health at this point was starting to decline. And around this time, I say I'm probably 20, maybe. And yeah, his health is starting to decline and shit. And he is put on hospice. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if they have that over there or not, but
End of life sort of care where they just try to make them as comfortable as possible, and let them live out their final days in the best they can.
right, right. So he was on hospice. Um, my friend had been using, he had been injecting cocaine because my mom got him hooked on it. And this particular day, I had taken acid. I also smoked some weed, so I was high as shit on that. And then my friend is like, we're back at his house, and his dad's in his bedroom laying down, and my friend's like dumping out all this coke onto his little fucking mirror thing, and he's like, maybe I got enough, and I'm like, enough for what? Like that's quite a bit, and he's like, to kill myself. And I'm like, why would you want to do that, dude? It was like, if your dad could hear you say that, he'd come in here and slap you. And he's like, yeah, but he's dying and he can't. So I think about it and I'm like, I can either fight my friend, I can take the coke and try and get rid of it and still probably fight my friend, or maybe I can do some of it with him and he won't have enough to kill himself. So that's what I ended up doing. I ended up doing some of it. So I got me a clean needle, fucking mainlined it, and so I'm on acid, weed, and cocaine all at the same time. My friend's on coke, and then we hear this screaming from the bedroom. We run in there. His dad's sitting up on the bed, holding his chest, gasping for air. He's like, "This is it, boys." And he was a DNR, obviously, being on hospice and shit. So like, we couldn't resuscitate him. We're not supposed to. And so we basically watch him die. I'm on the phone with 911 and hospice and shit, and all the drugs that I'm on, I'm fucking focused. I'm so level headed at this moment. And my friend's freaking out. Like he did try to resuscitate and this and that. His dad took like one breath with that and then just finally passed away. So I'm running around the house cleaning up all the drugs while I'm on the phone, all kinds of shit, dude. And I ended up having to call my friend's brother and telling him that his dad just passed away. And at the time, that was one of the hardest things I had ever had to do. Um, but other than that, like I didn't grieve until maybe 3 days later because it wasn't hitting me that day because I was all fucked up on everything, all the drugs and stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of glad that I was on that shit that day. Prior to that day, I had only ever shot coke one other time. It was like one sitting, but like three or four takes of it, and it was my mom that did it to me, because I was curious and wanted to try it. But yeah, so when my friend's dad died, we ended up moving to the Dallas area, and we were installing, Dish Network and shit like that. And then like that was kind of, I think that was like around probably later in the year, somewhere like September. Things went sour there because he was shooting up all the fucking money. So I went back to Jacksonville, started banging some chick, moved in with her. Um, Kind of bounced around all over, dude. From there, me and some friends went to Corpus, decided not to come back. So we kind of stayed in Corpus for. They stayed a lot longer than I did because there were four of us, and I was the asshole of the group. So I'm threatening to fuck people up and shit, and um, so they're basically like, you have to go." Well, didn't have anywhere to go, and I had this other chick that was driving down the Corpus to come see me and shit sometimes, and so I ended up staying with her. She kind of helped me get back on my feet a little bit. She helped me. I had to go do 3 days in county to pay, like, because I didn't pay some tickets for speeding and a bunch of other traffic violations. But once I got that taken care of, she helped me get my license back. She helped me get a job, kind of helped me get back up on my feet. Um, I mean, like I'm still cool with her to this day. We never really talk, but like you know, um, that door's open. Friendship only. Let me say that. But yeah. So I was in a town called Mahia. I lived there for about 8 years. Um, Started fucking this other chick, and because that one was cheating on me, so I left her. Started fucking this other chick named Ashley, and the last time I had seen Ashley, uh, I said something that pissed her off. I forgot what it was, and I was like, well, "Get the fuck out." So she left, and then she called me up several months later talking about she's pregnant. I always used a rubber with her, even though I know that that's not 100%. Um, but yeah, she called me up and was telling me I was pregnant and telling me that the kid was mine and this and that. And she said it was a boy. And I'm like, cool, what are we going to name him? And she's like, well, we've already talked about names. I'm like, no, we haven't. She's like, no, me and my boyfriend, Jacob. And I'm like, excuse me? And this is my fucking kid. He ain't got no say so. And she's like, yeah, we were going to call him Jacob John. It was John's my real name. And I'm like, bitch, you got another thing fucking coming. Uh, so for a year and a half, I thought this kid was mine. Her and I had no longer messed around. Like once I told her to get the fuck out, like we never messed around anymore. I started messing with this other chick named Leslie from work. Uh, Leslie had a daughter already named Raven, and Raven was almost 2. Raven's daddy was in the pen, didn't want anything to do with her. So after a while, me and Leslie started living together. Raven started calling me dad, this and that. Treated her like she was my own blood. Love that girl to death. Um, and during this time, I'm still thinking that I have this kid with Ashley, right? And when the kid was born, her boyfriend called me. He's like, "Hey man, this is Jacob, Ashley's boyfriend. I was just calling to let you know that your son was born 3 days ago." Cool, thanks. I lose my shit, like I'm fucking bawling, dude. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm afraid, like all these emotions at once. I can't even drive. I'm like so fucked up in the head over all this. So I have a friend of mine drive me down there. Kid looks just like me. So I willingly pay child support twice a month. I'm sending the money through a money order to the kid's grandma because I don't trust the mom. So I'm sending it to the grandma. The grandma's taking the money, buying the stuff for the kid, sending me receipts. Okay. Still with me? I know it's a
Yep.
lot.
No. That's good. I like that system. I was half expecting you to say the grandmother fucking spent it all on pokie machines or something.
No,
But it's
no.
nice to know the grandmother was a good egg.
Yeah, yeah. And even she was 100% sure the kid was mine. So, um, Ashley ended up going and doing some shit for some job. So the boy, like I called him Nico. I wanted his name to be Nico. He lived with me for like 9 fucking months. And so I went from having like no kids to having 2 kids because I'd loved Raven like she was my own too. And so it's me, Nico, Leslie, and her daughter Raven. And I finally get up enough money to get a DNA test done. And it comes back. I'm asleep. And they call me and, hey, John, blah, blah, so and so, with your test results. Turns out that it's negative. You're not the father. I'm like, okay, cool, thanks, bye. Wake back up and I'm like, wait, was that a dream? So when I finally get up, like I call them and I'm like, hey, did you guys call me? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, I was asleep. I was like, what are the results? And they're like, you're not the father. And I'm like, fuck. Like I just lay in bed in a ball, dude, and just start crying and shit. Cause I love this boy like he's my own. And Leslie was there when it happened, so like she saw how it fucking crippled me. You know, I called the grandma. I said, "Hey, I got the results back. He's not mine." Grandma's freaking out. What? I was like, "Yeah, he's not mine." I was like, "So I'm gonna spend the rest of the day with him, and then I'm gonna bring him to you, and then I'm done. I'm out completely." I had to exit completely because Ashley was the type of woman that would use that kid as a weapon against me, and she had done it a couple times. And then I called her at her work and I said, "Hey, I got the results back, and he's not mine." And I had a feeling that you knew that the whole time. She's like, "Okay, I'll come get him." I said, "No." I said, "I'm gonna take him to your mom." I said, "Fuck you," and hung up. And so that was the last time I had ever uh, seen him or anything like that. I think I saw some pictures on Facebook at one point, and he was like 8 years old and had a fucking grill and all this type of shit. And she's a fucking idiot too, piece of shit, looking like a drug addict and all this type of shit. But anyhow, so then it's just me, Leslie, and Raven. You know, Leslie decides Leslie liked to go out to the bars and with her friends and drink and shit. I like to stay at home with the kids, right? So she went out, met another dude, decided she wanted to go be with him, but that's not what she told me. She told me I was 26, she was 24. I've already lived my life. Dumbest shit ever. Um, so she left, went with him. She let me stay in Raven's life for about another week or two, and then she started trying to cut me off. And I'm like, look, like you don't even have to fucking talk to me. I said, I could see Raven when you're at work or something. I'll go through your mom. I'll give your mom child support money, like whatever I got to do. I'll sign papers, whatever I have to do. And she wasn't down for it. Uh, Leslie's mom knew that I was a good dad, and she had to end up cutting me off because Leslie told her, if you let him see, if you let him around Raven anymore, then you're not going to see Raven anymore. So then she had to stop letting me see her. Um, about 6 months went by. I was retarded, so we got back together. Um, we moved to fucking Jacksonville. Got a got a nice little 2-story house. We're both working, this and that. um, I notice that whenever I walk in the front door, she's coming down the stairs. The computer's upstairs. And every time I walk in the door, she's getting off the computer and coming downstairs. I also notice that at 5:30 in the morning, when I'm still asleep, she's in the other room on the phone. So I start putting, I put a keylogger on the PC. Come to find out, she was cut and pasting the same fucking message to all these dudes on fucking MySpace. And it was like, "Hey, my name's Leslie. I was looking through some profiles, thought you were cute. I just got out of a relationship with an asshole. Anyhow, if you'd like to talk or get to know each other, like send me a message, whatever. I'm stupid. Bye." And, one of the first ones that replied back, and all these were military guys she was sending it to. So, like, one of the first ones that replied back, his name was Mario. Like, that was the one she latched onto. And, you know, we end up I know about this and like I stew on it a little bit, trying to figure out what my next play is going to be because you know got a dead end job. She has the only working vehicle and this and that. So depression starts kicking in a little bit. I end up losing the job. She ends up wanting to move back home with her mom and shit. And so I didn't have anywhere to go. So like I tagged along with them for like 2 days. And then she's like, "So where are you going to go?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I thought maybe at the very least you would help me get a job until, like maybe help get me to work and stuff until I get like my first paycheck and get a car and stuff, so I can get going on my own." And she's like, "No, like that's not my responsibility anymore." She's like, "You need to go now." So I just fucking took off walking. And they lived like out in the country. It's like, all right, fine, fuck it. See ya. Started walking. And then here she comes in the vehicle and she's like, "Where can I take you?" I said, "Take me to my best friend's house." My best friend, her name is Stephanie. Her and I have been friends since I was 17, and sometimes I'll call her my sister. So I had her take me up there, and Stephanie's been my homie through thick and thin since I was fucking 15. And Stephanie helped get me back on my feet and shit. And there's been quite a few times where I've allowed myself to get knocked down and had to have some help to get back up. Ended up getting a job and vehicle and this and that, whatever. It's kind of all over. So I stayed there for a little bit, and then a friend of mine offered me a job back in Mahia where Leslie was living. So I went and took that job as a juvenile detention officer. Funny how that worked. And surprisingly though, like because of my background, I was able to identify and relate to with some of these kids, and they respected me for it because they knew I had seen some of the shit that they had seen and stuff like that. They knew that I understood. And so if I told them to do something, like most of them respected that. There was very few of them that I had to get physical with. But yeah, I ended up working there for a while. Um, and while I was working there, I had a friend named Fat, um, and of course that was his nickname. You know those reverse nicknames. Someone named Fat, but he's fucking shredded.
Yep.
Like that was Fat. Fat's like, "Hey man, like I met some guys that are doing like some MMA or jiu-jitsu shit in the basement of a church. You want to go check it out?" Fuck yeah, let's go. So I went down there, and there was like maybe 6 or 7 people. None of them really knew anything. Like one guy, I think maybe did like 6 months of wrestling and like maybe a year of boxing. And like I say, probably about 9 months before I met them, like I was just watching DVDs, like jiu-jitsu DVDs, trying to see what it was about and stuff. And I went down there, and he's like trying to teach me how to do an armbar from mount. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know how to do that." He's like, "You do?" He's like, "Show me." So I do it, and he's like, "I did it differently than he does." And he's like, "Oh, I like that better. What else do you know?" So then I started showing him shit that I thought that I knew. And I say that the way I did, like I thought that I knew, because you can watch some shit,
Yeah.
you still don't know what the fuck you're doing, right? So yeah, we kind of did that, dude, for like 2 years. And
It seems like he's you found yourself a decent guy there because like we talked about a bit before the show, but there are some people who well, you've only got to watch a couple of those Joe Rogan things with these fake martial artists and all the rest of it, and they'll bullshit their way through. But he straight away realized, oh, you know something, show me. Oh, cool, I like your way better. So seems like even though he didn't know a lot, he was still open to learning and learning from someone new. That's an admirable quality right there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, even as a brown belt, I've learned and picked up some things from white belts. And it's just have an open mind when it comes to jiu-jitsu, man. Like you'll learn some shit. Doesn't matter the rank or what. But yeah, I did 3 competitions during that time with no real training. Um, won some matches, lost some matches. My very first ever competition, I was 200-pound cigarette smoker, and I cut from 200 to 164, and was the smallest guy in my division. And didn't know shit. Really didn't know about healthy weight cutting. Didn't know about rehydrating. I rehydrated with fucking Dr. Pepper. Went out there, had my first match against this fucking yoked up Mexican wrestler dude, which I have a video of on YouTube. I'll send it to you later if you want to see it.
Yes,
And
please.
I won by points, and then I could barely fucking stand afterwards. My next match, I just got fucking ran through. But Uh, my third competition, I actually won. I actually took first, but that guy didn't know what the fuck he was doing either. But so I
What
decided it
year
was
is this? Because MMA BJJ was a kind of a late bloomer in the martial arts. Everyone knew about kung fu, karate, judo. Even you had what's his name? Fucking Steven Seagal's weird Aikido.
a keto shit.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but BJJ was a real sleeper that a lot of people didn't know about until MMA, UFC sort of era made a kick off. So, what year are we talking about now?
Oh nine.
Oh nine, yep.
Yeah. Oh nine was
The
when I
very
sort of.
early days of UFC sort of starting off, and I don't even think it was called that then, was it?
Yeah. I mean, it was still UFC. It was MMA. Um, I mean, I did watch the very first one live on pay per view. I think in '93 or '94, and saw jiu-jitsu, and I was like, "The fuck is this dumb shit?" Because the dude was just coming out there choking everybody, and I'm like, "I want to see blood and teeth flying and stuff." So I didn't like it. And then fast forward like many years later, I actually got to train with Hoist Gracie once. Um, but yeah, so I trained there for a little bit. I wanted to get out of the small town bullshit as well. And so I decided I was like, hey, it's time to move back to the Tyler area. And so I found a job. I was working
Was
three and
there
a
a
half
big
days.
tornado in Tyler?
We get one every once in a while. We'll
I,
probably get a
I
couple here
just I
in the
just
next
know
month
that
or
name,
so.
and I think I know it for. I watch a lot of DoomTube, a lot of disaster videos, and that. And Tyler just rang a bell for me for some reason.
Yeah, most of them are like right above Tyler or like a little bit west. Um, but yeah, Tornado Valley's moving, so I'm sure we're gonna start to be in that. So, um, but yeah, I get a job in Tyler, working at a boys' home for like emotionally disturbed children, and I'm working 3 days on, 3 days off, like living in the house with them, taking care of them, and all this type of shit. Um, and I find a gym. It was a Helson Gracie gym. Helson is Hoist's older brother. Helson helped Hoist get ready for UFC one, and so I start training there, and I like it so much that I transfer my job. So I go from living in the houses with them to being the manager of the distribution center that's there on campus. And so I lost about 10 grand a year, but I got to go train every day, and I was training 6 days a week. Um, and was just fucking loving it, dude. And stayed there, stayed training there, from white to purple belt, and that was probably, let's see, I think I joined that gym in like maybe April of 2011, 2010 or 20. I think yeah, I think about 2011 maybe, and left either at the end of 14 or 15. It was right after I got my purple belt from Helson, and at that point, like I still hadn't grown the fuck up. I really hadn't. I was 30, 34, 35. I think I was 34 and still hadn't grown the fuck up, dude. Like if I didn't, if like now, if I don't like you, like I'm not, unless you give me a reason to. Like I'm not gonna say anything and be mean to you. But back then, if I didn't like you, I'd be like, hey, fuck you, I don't like you. Here's why. Fucking, what are you gonna do? It took me a very long time to grow up,
I
and
wonder why. I wonder why.
yeah, dude. But well, I never really had anyone teach me how to be a
I
man. Like,
I'm gonna backtrack on you there, mate. I don't think it took you a long time to grow up. I think it took you a long time to get some wisdom. The shit that you've talked about in this, you grew up in ways that some people will never get to grow up. the shit you've seen, the street smarts you've got, the experiences you've had. You've got values and um, effects on you that most people will never learn in their entire life. But that also had negative effects on you in the anger management you talked about before, drugs addiction, and you've been betrayed. You've betrayed. You had one decent male role model. You had more negative male role models in your life than positive ones. So yeah, just don't. I don't know about growing up per se, but maturing maybe, and that wisdom that comes with age.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe, dude. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
I'm always right,
Um,
motherfucker.
um, yeah. So before I had moved back, let me backtrack a little bit because I forgot about this part. Like, um,
Jesus
before I
Christ.
had
Is this a
moved
good story
back,
or a bad story?
it was just I was about to kill myself again. Um, I before I had moved back and started training, like I didn't have anything. I was kind of damn near homeless and shit. Didn't have anything of my own. Depression was like still fucking with me because I missed Raven. I still wanted to be her dad, and I got a syringe and got some rat poison, and I was about to load that motherfucker up and go. Literally had it in my hand. I had both of them, one in each hand, and I was like, all I gotta do is fucking mix it and inject it, and I'm like, that's a wrap. And I looked over, and I had a framed picture of Raven. I looked over and saw it, and I was like, there's always that fucking chance. And to me, it was worth it. I was like, I just have to find something to stay busy with. And so that's when I started watching those DVDs and shit like that, and ended up falling in love with jujitsu and stuff. But I
Do
had
you have
only
any contact with Raven now?
no, I've only seen her once since all that. Her so I last saw Raven when she was, I think, 5. When she was 11, her mom reached out to me. Um, I remember it. I was taking a shit.
This is Leslie, right?
Yep, I was taking a shit. I get a message on Facebook, and it's Leslie, and she's like, "Hey, I just wanted to reach out and see how you were doing, and I wanted to apologize for everything I did to you. Um, you didn't deserve it. You were a good partner. You were a good dad, and so I just wanted to say I'm sorry and see how you're doing." Started talking a little bit, and I told her, I was like, "You fucked me up. Like, you fucked me up bad." And was like, "But I have learned to forgive." I had to let go of all that fucking hate, dude, from everybody that had ever wronged me in my life. Like, it sounds so corny and stupid, like, just to say it, but unless you've experienced, like, you don't know. Like, when you're hanging on to all that fucking hate for so long, it just constantly fucking pulls at you and drags you down and makes you feel like shit from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep every fucking day. And so I got to a point where it was like, dude, if I'm gonna keep fucking living, like, I gotta get a different mindset. So for myself and only for myself, I forgave all those people in my heart. And it was like instantly, dude, a fucking weight just flew off of my shoulders. I don't know how to explain it, but it was fucking it's crazy.
It's amazing you say that because I just watched a video, and I shared it with my son, and it was a World War II veteran who was captured in the Philippines and spent the rest of the war as a POW. And he said there was one thing that kept him alive his entire time that he was in the prison, in the POW camp, and it was hate. He had hate for the Japanese. They beat him. He saw them execute fellow prisoners and all the rest of it, and it was hate. Hate was what fueled him. Just that idea of getting revenge. And then he said one day he woke up and he was crying in the fetal position or on his hands and knees in his bedroom, and he realized that all of that anger, all of that hate he had was what was holding him back. And if anyone ever had a valid reason, it's a POW. Your story, mate, you've had a valid reason to be the most hateful, vengeful, fucked up person out there. But hate can be a tool for good. I think I did a tweet about this. Hate you can use to get you through something, but there comes a time where you've got to let it go, isn't there, Facility? And if you don't,
Yeah, definitely.
it'll hold you back, brother. This is the most amazing interview I think I've ever done, and I cannot fucking thank you enough for sharing this. I can see the emotion on you, and I hope I'm doing credit to you with this, mate, because you're one of the most inspiring people I've ever met.
I don't know what to say when people say shit like that. It's just
You don't have to say nothing, mate. You don't have to. It is what it is. It's like what we talk about. When you say things and it's facts, it's not big note or anything like that. It's the other thing I'm taking from this is, again, I'm going to segue into something I referenced. Recently, we just had a cyclone come through here, and it hit a city, Brisbane, which is well south, a bit like you with the tornado belt, but well south of where cyclones usually hit. And a lot of people here were panicking. And I shared some advice for people, and a few people said, "Thank you. This is a good list of things." But the best point I put on there was, at the end of the day, you've got to take responsibility for yourself, not rely on anyone else. And that's the thing out of everything you've said that I picked up on here, Facility, is that there came a point where you, with literally no good role models in your life, no one fucking giving you the great example of what to do, were able to work it out for yourself. My man,
yeah.
my
I mean,
man. You worked it out. You cracked the code, motherfucker. Yeah, as Andrew Tate would say, you beat the Matrix. Fuck that guy, by the way.
yeah, I haven't listened to a bunch of his shit.
I don't.
I think what I've heard, I like some of what he says, but then some of it's
Hmm.
fucking retarded.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, nowadays I don't really have too many issues. Like I don't get depressed anymore. I don't have any anxiety. I started
Are you
having
sorry?
anxiety.
Sorry. Are
Oh,
you going to say it, or am I for Shane B's comment?
no homo. Yeah, all of it, dude.
Just a little.
All of it.
Just a tip.
Just for you, Shane. Spit on that thing.
Fuck tour.
But I forgot where I was going with that. Oh yeah, yeah. Like yeah, I mean, other than the porn thing, which I feel it's
The
not like a
worst.
major
It's
thing,
not the
but
worst thing you could have as a
yeah, it's
fucking
not the
addiction.
worst. You're like my old lady's still fucking satisfied in the bedroom, you know what I mean? But um
Just as not as just as long as you're not expecting her to fucking do the shit that the girls do in those fucking videos, because that's some fucked up shit.
yeah, babe, were you pooping this?
Two facilities, one cup.
Yeah, yeah. But no, man, like I really don't have too many other issues. Now when my stepdad beat the shit out of me, that's where my anxiety came from. It got really hard for me to go out in public sometimes, like to go to the mall because I'd have these attacks and would feel like my throat was closing up, I was choking, and I would throw up sometimes. And once I threw up, I was good. So sometimes I would just get that out of the way and stick my finger down my throat and throw up and then go do whatever. But
I get the shits. I've got I seriously do. I've got what they call irritable bowel syndrome, and it's part of my issues. And again, I still missed the Ninja Turtle thing. Still want to see how that went
yeah,
again.
that's for Chris.
But it's weird the physical effect that conditions like anxiety and depression, PTSD, and that can have on you. And for me, it unfortunately comes in irritable bowel syndrome, and I'll literally be standing there, and the next thing is like, if I don't get to a toilet in the next minute, I'm fucked. And I had a very embarrassing holiday across China, Mongolia, and Russia. I left several sets of underwear and pants in bins in that place while my family went and got me new clothes.
That's
And
shitty.
that's even, yeah, pun intended. But it's weird. It's something that no matter how hard a man you think you are, no matter how based you are, our brains work in weird and wonderful fucking ways and do things to us that you're just not aware of until you are informed that that's a possibility. How has
Yeah,
the
yeah.
martial arts helped you? Yeah, with all the
Well,
focus and discipline and
it's cured my depression and my anxiety. You know, the way I kind of look at it, dude. My coach is a 300-pound man, and he would in jiu-jitsu you can spar at 100%. Like you can go balls to the wall, and nobody can get hurt, right? But I mean, people used to beat the fuck out of me in jiu-jitsu. Jeff and Brandon and my coach and a handful of other guys that had been around for a while, dude, they'd fuck me up. And sometimes I think maybe they would fuck me up because I probably said some shit that I shouldn't have said or something. But if I started to figure like if I can handle that, like why do I need to be worried about some shit that happened to me when I was 15? Like you know what I'm saying? Like I
Mhm.
can't handle my stepdad punching me in the head a couple of times, but like I got this 300-pound man that is making me feel like I'm about to die. You know, and it also teaches you how to work under stressful situations. It teaches you how to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations, and it
It's
teaches
one of
you that
those
you have
it's one of
to.
those things, mate, where you know in society we become a bit soft because as bad as it is, and there's always I'm always hesitant to say this because I know that it gets abused in that, but a bit of pain, a bit of getting your ass kicked is good for everyone. Mostly men, some women probably need to get a bit of it as well. Might stop them becoming Karens later on in life, but it does give you a bit of a grounding, knowing your capabilities, and just knowing what you're capable of, what you're not capable of, which is sometimes more important than knowing what you are capable of, and being able to, build from that. Like you're almost like a poster child for martial arts, helping someone um, lift themselves out of the rut they were in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why I preach about it so fucking much. And I mean, I know people at our gym. There's this one guy at our gym that his childhood makes mine look like fucking Disneyland. He's told me
I
about it, and I'm
I am
like,
not
holy
interviewing him,
shit.
mate. I can't fucking handle that. I'm gonna find someone nice and positive for next week. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Then I'm just like, God damn, dude. Like I don't when I tell my story, I don't tell my story to like try and fucking make it sound like, oh, I had the
woe is
worst and
me.
blah blah
No,
blah.
not at all.
No, this is just what I dealt with, and here's how I dealt with that. But like, yeah, his shit's way worse. And he talks all the time. He's still a fucking white belt. And he talks all the time about how jiu-jitsu has changed his life for the best. So it's a cool thing, man. People that have never tried it, jiu-jitsu, people that have never tried it don't understand. You don't know what you don't know. They don't know. They don't know about the level of control that can be put upon you, and you can't fucking do shit,
Mhm.
you know? And it's
Like
always when you
as I said to you in the private chats we've had in the past, I've never done jujitsu. I did a bit of Wing Chun when I was a kid because that was something that the school did, and then like you, I always had a kind of a fascination with it. I used to watch wrestling. I used to watch all the Who Flung Dung movies and all the rest of it, and had a sort of affinity for it. I'm no fucking guru or anything like that. I knew enough to get myself into more trouble than I could get out of. But I was still better than a lot, and I actually got picked to be a military unarmed combat instructor after doing the course. And the submission stuff, striking is all well and good, but the submission stuff, it really fucking humbles you, doesn't it?
it
Getting
does.
getting blacked out, getting those. When you were telling me about when your stepfather put that armbar on you and then popped your shoulder, I was sitting there thinking, that must be fucking terrifying. Getting knocked out is terrifying. I've been knocked out by a punch before. I've got a thick skull, so it takes a good punch to knock me out. I've been hit by two before over the back of the head, and it did knock me out. But getting blacked out is a whole waking up and that confusion that you're in afterwards, seeing that bright light, and then bang, you're out, and then a few seconds later you're awake again, and you're like, "What happened?" And they went, "Oh, you blacked out." That's
Hmm.
humbling.
Yeah, because you start thinking about all the things that can be done to you while you're unconscious.
Yep.
It's like you're gonna wake up and your butthole's gonna be hurting. You're gonna be wondering what the fuck happened.
Hey, if you went camping and woke up with $50 in your hand and a used condom on the floor next to you,
Would
would
you
you
tell
tell anyone?
somebody or no?
Yeah.
I'm not a heavy sleeper.
Want to go camping?
No.
I like it when they fight.
And we'll be fighting and boy, you got down.
But yeah, so what about gaming? So you've got the martial arts side, but you're still gaming through all of this period, or is that something that came back again once you kind of found yourself in a place of more peace and being a bit more comfortable in your spot in life?
So, I talked about I had the Nintendo, the original,
Yep.
and then from that I went to Super Nintendo, and let's see, I remember going from Super Nintendo to Sega Genesis. A friend of mine down the street, like his mom was loaded, so like he got all the new systems, right? And that's I would pretty much try out, the games for the first time down at his house, and then if I liked it, I would ask my dad if maybe I could get one too. So it usually came like around Christmas or something. He'd be like, "Here's your budget, go get whatever." And so I'd go get whatever and come back, and then he'd buy it. I guess that was how he fucking showed love or whatever. But yeah. So I gamed a little bit on Super Nintendo, and then I feel like I kind of what did I do? So Nintendo, Super Nintendo, then went Sega Genesis, and then after Sega Genesis, I think I kind of fell off a little bit. Like once I started running the
Genesis was
streets,
a Genesis was a very unpopular platform.
yeah, but they had some good shit, dude. Like Sonic back in the
Mm,
day was a game changer.
yeah.
Um, but when I started running the streets, I started gaming a little less because I didn't want to be home. I didn't want to be there when my stepdad was going to beat the shit out of my mom or you know whatever. I'd rather be out doing illegal shit. So I didn't game a whole lot. Um, and then whenever the PS1 came out, I ended up getting one of those, and I was playing the wrestling games. SmackDown. I
Hmm.
used to have all the SmackDown games on all the
Attitude Era
consoles.
was the fucking best.
Yeah, and then when PS2s came out, here's a fun little story for you. A buddy of mine, a buddy of mine worked at Kmart, and he was working in the layaway department where you can like pay shit out over time. And we devised this plan. He's like, "Hey, come in, go to the layaway section, tell me you're here to pay off your layaway thing. Hand me $10. I'm gonna hand you a black bag full of. It's got like 4 PS2s in it." He said, "I'm gonna print you out a receipt. You'll be good." And so it worked. I walked out of Kmart with 4 brand new PS2s in my
And
hand.
how much were they back in the day? Because they weren't cheap from memory either. They were fucking
I'm not sure. I
pretty.
think they were like maybe 250 or something back in the
Yeah,
day.
and back then, that's yeah.
Yeah. And so I walked out with that, and then later that night when they closed, like I had to go back and pick him up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got something for you," and he pulls out the new SmackDown game. So we were playing. I played the shit out of that for a while, dude. Used to get down on some SmackDown games. I got so good at those games, I could do a 1v3 against 3 of my other friends and still beat them all. It was wild. I miss those days. But I didn't play too many other games. I played Metal Gear, um, and wrestling. If we're talking about PlayStation, a little bit of Twisted Metal, and then after the PS2, I think I got, um, I think the 360 was out at that time, was it not? Because I remember I had a 360 and a PS3 at one point. Haha, take that, Shogun. But but yeah, I don't know, I've been gaming ever since. You know, I didn't really get a good PC until I started streaming like maybe 7 years ago or so, 6 or 7 years ago.
Hmm.
So I was always about the consoles and shit. And a friend of mine had a PC, but he would play like Diablo and a bunch of other games and stuff like that. Sometimes I'd watch him play. Sometimes I would,
Take a while. Listen,
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
love
So
Diablo.
sometimes I would step and watch him play games, or maybe I would play fucking what was it, Destruction Derby or whatever it was, and I stayed with the consoles forever, dude. And then when 20 what was it, 2012, I think I heard about DayZ. I don't remember how, but I heard about it being a mod for Arma 2. So I ended up getting a fucking cheap ass E machine, I think it was, and tried to play it and would get like 2 frames a second. And I was like, this ain't gonna work. And so I didn't fuck with it. I still talked about that game because of all the stuff that I'd seen online and asking people if they played it and this and that. But like I never, like, years had passed and I had still never got to play it. And then I bought it on PC because I ended up having a decent PC. Or actually, Jordan had one, my girlfriend. And so I bought it on Steam, like right before it came out for consoles, and played it for a little bit. But I was still a console guy. So when it came out on console, I bought it and I got it for her too. Bonk Adventure was awesome, by the way, Shogun. And
I couldn't resist that comment either, by the way.
yeah, Bonk's Adventure on TurboGrafx 16 used to be fucking cool. But yeah,
My favorite console game of all time is GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64.
I know
Four
about
player,
it.
four
I
player
think
split screen, the bomb.
I think maybe I played it once. But what system was that on? N64?
Nintendo 64, and that was
Yeah,
about
see.
the late 90s, about 98ish, I think, was roughly when that came out.
Yeah, that was when I was out running the streets and shit. Um, so I skipped the N64. I didn't have one of those or a Dreamcast or a Sega Saturn, but some of my friends had all those. Um, I got Daisy on console, and me and a girlfriend played it for a while. She was addicted to it. She'd be at work as a school teacher, and all she could think about was coming home and playing Daisy. But it's no longer like that with her. She don't even want to play it anymore. Um, and I was like, this kind of sucks on console, dude. Like it was trash. And I was like, well, fuck, let me go back to the PC. And then I started I started using her laptop, and I was playing. I think when I first started streaming, I was doing. I had her Xbox hooked up to the laptop, and I think I was streaming it that way while still playing it on Xbox. And then I was also doing jiu-jitsu streams. Like whenever we worked in class that night at the gym, I would come home and I had some mats and I would set the mats up in the living room and then I would teach to the viewer what we did in class. And there was a lot of people that actually liked that. Like people were coming through for it. Um, there were two new viewers, the Salty Sergeant and Water Ninja, and they in that one stream they both donated like $425 each for me to get a new PC. So I ended up getting a new PC, started streaming fucking Daisy on PC, and then ended up buying a new PC, which is the one I'm using now, the one with the 4090 and shit, and just haven't stopped. You know, like I had said before, like I still struggle streaming Daisy sometimes because sometimes I'm just fucking over it. But overall, man, it's a game that I love, and I don't know. I figured playing playing games and shit like that keeps me off the streets, not doing shit I shouldn't be doing. Because I like tearing shit up. You know, I like destroying shit. I like shooting shit, burning shit. You know, I
It's
like
weird. Yeah, it's something I talked about with Alex a bit, but um, like with everything, sure there are some people who might get bad or become bad from something, but they're probably going to become bad from watching a movie or from listening to a podcast or whatever. So it doesn't really matter what the medium is. But for a lot of people, just being able to log on and just blow some shit up and all the rest of it, it's actually kind of cathartic, isn't it?
it is, it is. Um, I like fire too. Like I'm not a fucking pyromaniac where I always have a desire to go and burn something, but like something's on fire, I like to sit there and watch it. Um, I played with fire quite a bit when I was younger and fucked some shit up.
Bro, it's a male thing predominantly. Like if there's a fire, a man wants to get a stick and poke it and maybe cook something on it
Yeah, so
or burn
when I
something
was
in it.
when I was pretty young, like living with my mom, when I was a little kid, she was standing outside the car, and I think that was maybe the one time I saw my biological dad. She was standing outside the car talking to him. My sister was in the front seat, and she was sick. And I remember she had this pink bucket in case she had to throw up, and I'm in the back seat. And this is a brand new car that my mom drove off the fucking showroom floor. And I found a piece of paper. I seen a lighter in her purse. Lit that motherfucker. Dropped it in the floorboard. And they had to pull us out of that fucking car. Fire department showed up, had to put the car out, and said that it was probably a minute or two away from exploding. Like I torched that whole fucking car.
Insured?
I don't know. Knowing her, maybe not, but who knows? I don't even know if that's the same car she fucking wrecked with when I was a kid. There was one time she was fucked up on drugs, and I was in the front seat, not in a car, not in a fucking a car seat or nothing like that. And she was fucked up, went off into a ditch, and hit so fucking hard that both of the front wheels shot off the car, and I flew into the floorboard. And then some people had to come bust a window out to pull us out. And that was wild. I remember that. You know, it's been a wild one, dude. Some of it's been fun, some of it sucked,
But
but
it's all and look, this is something that I try to post about, but negative experiences are just the same as good experiences in one way. They form the person you become. You
yeah,
learn from them. They shape you. It's up to you how that is going to shape you. Yeah. Yes, there's certain instances where someone might have a genuine, mental condition, psychological condition, whatever it might be, um, that it's kind of out of their hands a bit. They're predisposed towards, again, I watch a lot of Doom Tube, but it's up to you how you allow that shit to impact you in the long term. You could choose the easy option, which it sounds like you did for a while, where you were just a bit of a rebel and just fuck it. This is the best it's ever going to be. I'm just going to fucking break and enters and do some dodgy shit. But there comes a time where you've just got to step up. And sadly, a lot of the people in your past, it sounds like never had that realization, and that's just an indication of the sort of people they are. But it's an indication of the sort of person you are, and a lot of the people in this chat as well who've been resonating very hard with what you've been saying, that they've moved past it. And it's never something where you could just sit there and say, I'm done now. It's constant battle, isn't it? There's probably days where you sit there and you think, oh man, for fuck's sakes. But you've got to just reach in and get a bit of that mongrel, get a bit of get up and go, a bit of aggro. Use that aggression for good to fuel you to keep on going. And like you said that day where you were sitting there with two needles, and you looked over and looked at a photo of a little girl who's got a big space in your heart, and use that to fuel you to not do the stupidest fucking thing you could do. And look where you are now, my man.
Yeah, I mean, my life is great now. Um, it was funny too because growing up, my friends' parents hated me because my friends were, like when we were teenagers and shit, or or early adults or whatever. Like my friends' parents hated me because they thought their kids were getting drugs from me. They thought
Yeah,
I'm the fucking dealer and shit. And so, I was the piece of shit, worthless fucking whatever because they knew that my parents were junkies. So automatically, it's coming from me. But all those friends and shit, like I said, they're the ones that are all fucked up. Like me, there's one friend from back in those days that I still keep in contact with on a regular basis. And we were talking about it, I think yesterday, day before yesterday. He's like, dude, my dad loves you. He's like, everybody thought that you were this and stuff, but you were the complete opposite. And he's like, whatever my dad can do to help you, because his dad's an attorney and shit. Um, and I've been maybe talking about fucking signing some papers and making it official or whatever with the old lady. Um, but yeah, like, did I maybe get some drugs for their kids at some point? Yeah, but most of the time, no, it wasn't me. So
but
it's whatever.
you've changed from what you were, mate. Now, there's one other thing I wanted to go back with. Your history with the police doesn't sound like it's been the greatest at times, but something I know about you and at your gym is that you've got an open invitation to any police officer, whether they be sheriff's department, police, or whatever, to come in and you'll give them lessons for free.
Yeah, I beat the
What
shit out of cops
inspired
all
that?
the time. There's a program called Adopt a Cop BJJ, and it was so we used to always give LEOs a discount. Same with veterans. But there was another thing called Adopt a Cop, and it was a jiu-jitsu organization, and they're like, hey, like, we'll give you you can train, pay us $20 a month until you get your blue belt, and if you get your blue belt, we'll give you all that money back, and you can train for free or some shit like that. And so I asked my coach about it, who's also my boss, and he's like, we could try it. And I think I talked to maybe one or two cops about it or something. And then I was like, well, how are we going to keep up with it? And he's like, you know what? Fuck it. Tell them if they can try and be consistent, come in, buy a gi from us, they can train for free. And it's like cops fucking need it, dude. They don't know that, but most of them don't know that because they have a fucking gun and shit. But you definitely need it. And I think the big deal with most of the cops is that number one, they have that they do have their gun. They have backup, which may not always fucking be there. And somebody else might have a gun too. But when shit hits the fan, like there may not be any guns. Like, what if in the middle of this battle your gun gets fucking tossed and now this motherfucker's on top of you pounding your fucking face in? What are you gonna do? It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And so a lot of
Yeah,
them, it's an
just
ego thing too.
well, what Kaiki just said in chat there is what I was going to say, and that's the thing. With a lot of these people, and it's not just a an easy thing to say this because there's a lot more to it along the lines of funding and all the rest of it. But even just training time. Because they've got to spend a lot of time training to become competent. You can't just give someone a couple of lessons and then they're competent to be able to feel that they can use those skills to take someone down. It's these departments have got to invest in them and ongoing training, and that's if they don't do it, it's an issue. But when all they've got on them is taser, pepper spray, gun, um, they're going to go for the option because they're under our mate Vigilante's done some really good videos on it, hasn't he? Talking about the psychology of all the rest of it, and that a lot of LEOs, law enforcement officers, do not have the skills. Like there's that great video I think I shared with you and him where that cop who's absolutely fucking jacked is trying to wrestle this guy, and he's just failing because muscles don't mean shit. Like you said, that little guy who beat the shit out of you because he was fast. So many people. There's a great line from a Kiwi movie called Once Were Warriors, where Jake the Muss beats the fuck out of this big steroid munching thing, and after he beats him, beats the fuck out of him, turns around and goes, too much weight's not enough speed work. But yeah, this guy was so jacked. And then this guy who's like half his size comes in and like helps him. And you could see the body language of the cop. He was embarrassed. He was humiliated that this little guy had to come in and show him how to restrain. All I could think of at the time was, thank God that little guy was there, because more than likely that cop would have fucking a switch inside his brain would have flipped, and we could have been looking at another death in custody, because this rock ape didn't fucking know how to use those muscles. He spent so much time in the gym. Maybe spend some time in a fucking martial arts gym, brother, instead of just on the weights, because it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, dude. I don't know, man. I mean, size and strength matters to an extent,
Yeah.
but
Oh, I
I would
remember when I
rather.
shared you that video on the mountain,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
replied to me and you said, "Please God, can that man never get good at this because he'd be impossible."
yeah. I mean, I would rather see one person, like one cop with training, deal with the suspect versus five untrained cops deal with the suspect. Because the more people you got in there trying to hold someone down, the more of a shit show it's going to be.
Yep.
And it's like, fuck, I've seen some of these videos and I'm like, fuck, dude, I could hold that motherfucker down by myself while having a conversation with someone else because I've done it. I've I've held some people down in the gym that were just fucking like they don't know shit. It's their first week. They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand gym etiquette, so they're going balls to the wall. And I'm holding them down while having a conversation with someone right next to me, and they feel stupid as fuck when it's over with. And then I make them feel even more dumber because I hit them with like, "How old are you?" And they're like, 21. What about you? And I'm like, "Bro, I'm 44." And they're just like, "Yeah, dude, slow the fuck down. Quit fucking going balls to the wall. Conserve your energy and fucking learn some shit."
I'm going to share a channel in chat here, folks. If any of you are interested in this sort of stuff and what Facility and I have been talking about, this is our mate uh, Vigilante or Keto, and Facility's even done some footage for him for one of his videos, haven't you?
Yep. Yeah, just one. But
Yeah.
yeah, highly recommend his channel. He's got some good shit.
It all gets demonetized. It all gets restricted because he's talking about scary stuff that YouTube and advertisers don't like. But Vigilante's got this unique ability to be able to explain that sort of shit well, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
No hype, no bullshit. Just gets in there and
Just
just
raw.
talk. Yeah. But mate, is there anything else that you want to talk about? Actually, no. There is something else. Like that I did want to, and it was inspired by what you were talking about earlier. With everything you've seen um, in your life and what you've overcome, how do you feel when you see people on, social media and the whole, exactly what you were talking about before? The whole. I'm not saying this for woe is me. How do you feel when you see the woe is me shit getting posted on social media?
What woe is me?
Yeah, like woe is me. My life's so hard. Everything
Oh,
sucks. Yeah,
fucking shut the fuck up. That's how I feel about it. You got enough time to sit there and cry on the fucking internet. You got enough time to go outside and do something. Like
cut some grass.
there's one person in the fucking community. I don't know if you want me to say his name. I will, but only
No,
if
listen,
you want to know. But
I don't like. It's kind of a policy I have that if
okay,
they're not here to defend themselves, we don't name and shame unless
I
it was
can
like,
respect it.
like your shirt sort of crime, that sort of shit. Fuck them.
Okay, cool. I can respect that. But yeah, the dude always fucking bitch and moaned and shit about his life and how bad it is and stuff. But like You know,
I know
like,
straight away who you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there were times I would stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning in DMs trying to help this dude out. Never wanted to take any advice that anybody ever gave him, but was always quick to fucking cry me a fucking river. Shut the fuck up. We all got fucking problems. You can choose to sit there and just fucking deal with it every day and be a fucking pussy about it and just pray that some miracle fucking happens and then poof, like you're fixed. Or you can get to work every day and try and fucking better yourself. You're not going to fix it all in a day. Just try and become a little bit better than the person you were yesterday. I can't stand those fucking people that just bitch and moan and cry about their fucking lives.
Hmm.
God damn. That shit gets me going, boy.
But there's, like we've done here today, folks. There's nothing wrong with talking about it, sharing your experiences, even sharing something that may have happened. That could be cathartic. And it's also a way of for those who do care, and regardless of what you think, there's always someone out there who cares about you. Um, it might be someone you barely know. I've reached out to people in the past who I barely know, but I just see something, I put two and two together, and I go, they're not in a good place. So don't be afraid to share, but don't let it become a fucking crutch.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And like, I feel like with s- not that person, a different one, by the
Oh,
way.
okay.
Um, but I feel like I agree with what you say. You know, if you need someone to talk to or whatever, reach out, this and that. Um, that message kind of reading that message kind of made me lose my train of thought. Um, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I feel like with the shit that I've gone through, I feel like I have a very, very high amount of empathy for people. It doesn't seem
Hmm.
like it, but I do. Like so much, and I'm sure there's a term for it that Patty might know or something because Patty's smart as fuck. But I can just think about this person's situation and their struggle, and I can kind of put myself in their shoes in my mind, and like my eyes will start watering, dude. Like I don't know what the term is for it, but like I don't know, dude. It's just something that happens sometimes. Like I can like
That's
earlier.
empathy. That's empathy, where can you can empathize with someone, and particularly with the experiences you've had, you could probably empathize with some of these people a lot better than another person could.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know it's empathy, but like it's kind of to the fucking extreme. Like it kind of doesn't. Let's see how I can explain it. Um, I don't know how to explain it other than that. But yeah, I know it's empathy, but it's like a level of it to where like if you sit here and you were telling me some stuff, like I could put myself in it and picture it.
Visualize.
I could feel what you feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, when you're going through that. And like sometimes I even do that shit with myself. And of course, because I actually know what it was like because I was there, duh. But like sometimes, dude, like even though a lot of the things that I went through don't really fuck with me now, if I go back to that place in my mind, it's like I could feel that again and stuff,
You've
you
got to be
know.
careful with that, mate, as well.
You
Like,
do.
um, I I go through cycles where, a passion of mine is veterans. But as I was saying with you beforehand, there are times where veterans fucking disgust me because they use it as a crutch. It's, I gave you an example. I'm not going to say it, but where someone, used it as a crutch, and I was like, I don't give a fuck whether you are a veteran or not. It's that makes very little difference to me. Um, but if you, as much as you might want to help people, sometimes you've got to just walk away. Yep, I know the one. Sometimes you've just got to walk away from it because if you immerse yourself too much in someone else's troubles and world, it could drag you down. It's like a drowning swimmer.
Hmm.
You go in there to help them. They're panicking that much. They'll drag you under and kill both of you trying to drag themselves out, and you won't know any better because you did something trying to help. Because sometimes the nicest thing you can do is walk away. When they teach what is it, first aid. I don't know what they teach in the in America, but here I know it's changed a bit now. They keep on adding shit to it, like they'd love to do with every acronym. But it used to be Dr. ABC or DRAB, and the first thing was danger. Before you go in to give aid, you've got to assess what the danger is. And there are some people that I just won't touch with a 10-foot pole because I know they'll drag me under as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, might even be some people I turn around and walk away from. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I don't mind helping as when I can and stuff like that. But I'm also not gonna jeopardize my own shit for them too.
Paddy, on
Just
the money there.
not gonna
On
do
the
it.
fucking money. Some people use their trauma as an identity, surround themselves with it, and don't know how to let go. It's just one part of the puzzle that makes you the person you are. There might be a big piece of that puzzle, but is that the bit? Is that the piece that you want front and center of your identity? I know for me, my PTSD fucking and the shit that I went through, nowhere near your level, that's for fucking sure. But that's part of me, and I'm happy to talk about it. But I don't like to make that the main focus of me. I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I'm a gamer and a veteran. And probably in that order is my priorities.
Yeah,
Oh,
I used
and
to.
friend. Friend is definitely up there as well. A friend to people.
Yeah, it I mean, like I said, Patty's smart. I mean, what she said is right on the fucking money. You know, I I always and some people they'll try and mask that shit and hide it with something else. And for me, it was fucking either cracking jokes or trying to make myself look like I was big and tough and stuff like that. Like that was probably the biggest one. Trying to appear to be big and tough and shit and always on a defensive, like, like somebody was always out to try and hurt me and stuff. And a lot of my friends growing up thought that I was this bad motherfucker because like that's how I put myself out to be. But like, no, wrong,
That's
not
wicked.
like I didn't know how to fight back then. Not at all. I still don't think I know how. Like, I don't want to fight or nothing like that. I just want to fucking take care of me and mine and help people when I can. And if I can't, maybe I can help point you in the right direction. And just, like I said last time, I just want everybody to fucking be healthy and happy and take care of yourselves and take care of one another. But yeah, I couldn't picture my life any other way. If I wasn't doing jiu-jitsu, I don't know where I'd be. I'd I probably would be dead. Either fucking put myself in a situation to be murdered or, take my own life or end up in prison or something, which I always told myself that if I went to prison for life over some shit, I might as well just kill myself anyway. But people are talking
Sorry,
about feet picks and shit.
I just had to get something for Shogun. Shogun, you're gonna want to watch this video. One of the funniest OnlyFans accounts I have ever heard of. The only sort I will ever endorse. Some chick, my missus put me onto this one. Her name is Bernadette Banner. She made an OnlyFans for saucy Victorian ankle pics.
Bernadette, she's got to be a freak.
Her thing is she likes Victorian era clothing. Those very old school lady stuff. And she created an account just to see what would happen. The thumbnail is awesome. I woke up today and chose depravity, and all she shared was risque shots of like from her knee down, a little bit of thigh, fully dressed, and people subscribed to it. I think she ended up donating all the money to a charity or something. But yeah, it just shows. Yeah, I've seen it. She wears Victorian era shoes. Yep.
Oh yeah, she's a freak.
Your wife sent you this and you found that link real quick because I know what to search for. Victorian era OnlyFans account. That's what my search bar is. 12 million views on that video, man.
Well, somebody owes you $10 because I showed my foot.
Hey, that's I used to always freak out Cobra by showing my feet on the stream. Uh, But yeah, but no, it's yeah, you've got to yeah, yeah, it's a real fucking Debbie Downer as well, isn't it? When you join someone's stream and all they're fucking doing is going on, oh, my life sucks, oh, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, don't don't trauma dump on your stream, and for fuck's sakes, folks, don't trauma dump on streamers either. People like to, I know this is weird saying that when we've just done a whole episode, which is a massive trauma dump, but I think we're adding something to it. We're not just dumping all this. We're talking about the positive side of it. That what shapes you. What's that saying? What doesn't kill you?
Makes you stronger.
Yep,
Makes your dick bigger.
it does so. Well, judging by the hole on that fucking hand behind you, yours is a bloody tripod, mate.
So I actually have a tattoo of a hand doing this. It's on my leg here.
That's because you're a racist.
Right here.
The OK symbol, the white power symbol.
And so I get people at the gym all the time with it. Hey, you see my new tattoo? And they hit them with that, and then they're, the stupid little middle school game. But I went out to my car after class one night, and this was sitting on my car, and I know who did it. And it was Devin Whiteside, I think is the name. He's around some of the streams, but he's a friend of mine in real life, and he told me that he had a surprise for me. He did. I wouldn't know what it is, wouldn't know where it was going to come or where it was going to be or whatever. And as soon as I walked out and saw this, I knew it was him.
You're a fucking inspiration, mate. You really are. But you're a humble inspiration. And I really hope that the people who watch this can get something from it, mate, because end of the day, everyone's got their own baggage, don't they, mate?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But it's up to you how you carry that baggage,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're trying to fucking get rid of it or not. If you're not working towards trying to better yourself, then what the fuck are you doing?
Go and wallow in your own misery somewhere else. Please don't bring it around me. But yeah, um, anyone in chat got any questions for facility that aren't X-rated?
Oh, well, they all had a bunch until you said that last part, I'm sure. Calm down, Patty.
It's why I fucking added it, because I know what you're like, so I know what your community is like.
Patty's still
Just
asking for that OF link, I'm sure. Do it clap. Come over and find out, Marks.
You got to get yourself over there actually, and visit the team in Prague, mate. It is such a beautiful city. Did you see Cobra's video?
Not yet, not yet.
It's nice. It really is. I've actually got something to share with you all as well. I'm still trying to work out what to do with it, but in Cobra's video, he went to Squirrel Castle, and I actually, give me 1 second. I might be able to do this even better actually. Video.
Well, next time they do another get together, Marks can put in a word for me and get me over there. Need that +1 though, because the old lady would kill me if I don't take her with me.
Oh, bro, they won't do that. I had to pay for my missus to come over.
Yeah, because she's the one that wants to travel and go and see shit. And I'm like, I can see that shit on Google. But yeah, I do need a good vacation.
Okay, can you see that?
Yep. Can't really hear it though.
Don't really need to hear. More just about seeing it. This is Prison Island for those of you who play DayZ. Yes, I'm fat and unfit. Don't bag me out for my breathing.
That's interesting. That the acoustics are awesome there.
Very echoey.
Marks, imagine them fucking cheeks clapping in there. Oh, that's cool. That's where the well's at.
Yep.
It blows my mind like how accurate they are with some of the shit in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not much of like a travel person, but I do think it would be kind of cool to go and see some real
Yeah.
life DayZ places. But then again, I got YouTube for that.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys are the first. That's in the Czech Republic, PayPal. So that's somewhere you could go and see. Poor old Cobra didn't plan it properly, facility, and he only got to go to the gates. But yeah, and just outside there, I don't know where I put it, but they had a walking trail, and on the trees they actually have the tree markers that are in DayZ as well. You know, all those post markers with the different colors for the trails. That's actually something they do in that country, which
That's cool.
again was just that attention to detail. And like I saw it, I was like this giddy little fucking school kid, mate. Ran up to this fucking tree and got a photo of myself with it, and yeah, absolutely amazing. But okay, let's see. Did we get any questions in that time?
I'm telling you, if it's
Facility,
not rated X, they have no questions.
facility answer to all questions. Do BJJ if you're sad. Do BJJ if you're sick. Do BJJ getting divorced. Do BJJ.
And if you're not doing BJJ, do BJJ anyway.
That's dope. Get some honeys up in there. The clip chuck, the cheek clapping would that would echo in eternity. Would get my pimping back into the big leagues. When you clap cheek, echoes in eternity. People talk crap about DayZ, but don't realise the amount of detail in the game. 100%, 100%. Marks wants to fight you, so we'll tee that up. You could have a big showdown in the courtyard of Squirrel Castle there, mate.
Yeah, clap his cheeks for him.
Yeah, loser gets his cheeks clapped. But yeah, mate, again, I cannot thank you enough. You are an inspiration, buddy. Mark's that. You said it in here, mate. You want to fight him? That's the terms. You accepted it. It's on. So we'll get DOJ to referee it. But yeah, you are an inspiration, mate. You know, it's a case of don't let your past shape your future.
Yeah.
other than it can mold you, but you've got to learn to rise above it. Rise above hate, as we discussed with the previous episode guest. Rise above a shitty fucking shitty is an understatement, but a shitty childhood. And yeah, what did you use for inspirations for yourself? Anyone, or you just worked it out yourself?
Other than jiu-jitsu, like nothing really. Nothing
Yeah,
really. I mean, there was there was a short period of time in there when I felt like I was pretty happy, and that was when I was being a dad. But when that shit when that was over, like it was right back down. So I also learned too that I can't let my happiness be dependent on someone else.
yeah,
Like if you're not if you don't love yourself first, how you gonna love somebody else?
yes. It sounds like a fucking Hallmark card, but it is so true.
Yeah, because what are you gonna do? You're not gonna love yourself. You're gonna hook up with some chick, and then you're gonna be happy because you have her. But then when that's over, you're right back down to being fucking poor little me. You
It,
can't
it,
be
it's
that.
it's a problem that a lot of streamers have, is they're constantly seeking external validation, and that
Hmm.
is a fast recipe to a psychological roller coaster. Dizzying highs, terrifying lows. You see it time and time again. People complaining, no one's watching me, all the rest of it. And then when they get a raid, and all these people are in there, but they're generally so negative that people don't want to hang around you if you're negative.
Yeah,
Well, some people do. Some people love to wallow in misery, but that's
true.
that's not a good environment to place yourself in. That's just a self perpetuating cycle of endless negativity, depression, anxiety. You name it, it's in there. Um,
Yeah, and if
yeah.
and if you're like that, then some of those people are like, "Well, this is who I am, and if you don't like it, then you can fuck off. I'm not changing for anybody." When they're the ones
Okay.
that need to change the most, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yep. Goosing.
you
I don't
can't
know what is goosing. Do you know what goosing is?
fucking. That's what we used
Goosing
to
is
call it.
awesome. Is that what it is, Koiki? I've never heard that term before. But yeah. Anyway,
Sure
my
clean.
man, we are coming up to, you mentioned you get a 16-hour construction shift. Oh, fucking oh. Yeah. Oh, God, yes. Yes, 100%. And Kaiki has confirmed that's what goosing is. So there you go. I learnt a new word. But, mate, thank you so much for not only agreeing to do this interview, but for being so open and honest about it. And um, just so everyone knows, during the stream, we've been sharing a link for a fundraiser that's happening at the moment. Sadly, earlier this week, we found out that a streamer, I personally didn't know him, but I know Gecko Fish. And if it upsets Gecko Fish, then the guy must be a good guy because Gecko's one of the good eggs in the community, isn't he? You never see any drama with Gecko. He just does his own thing with his people and that. He just makes content. He's a funny bugger. And to find out that the loss of a friend of his by the name of Big Boss um, upset him so much. Um, he must have been a good guy. So right now, I'll share it on the screen. Um, Everyone is absolutely killing it at the moment, but he only wanted to raise £1,000. They're already at £11,220. But for what we're talking about, this isn't a case of wanting to raise a few bucks to get someone a car or something like that. This is to help a family who've lost the father, the husband. So if you've got any amount of money you can spare, folks, please consider, if you can spare a few bucks, um, to donate to Big Boss here. But yeah, a real happy looking guy, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, he is. I think I've ran into him maybe once or twice in game, but never really, never played with him or never really talked to him very much. But I have seen him around quite a bit, and people that have mentioned him to me spoke pretty highly of him.
Yeah.
Um, I did hear that money was always tight in that family. So yeah, if anybody even has a couple bucks or whatever, I mean, fuck, cancel your membership to me and give it to them.
And some lovely messages there from people as well, who knew him. And yeah, from the Bangkok Stallion series, I always believed in his character being more real and believable because he was just that. He was real. He was believable. He was our big boss.
Yeah, that's sad, dude.
And he's not that old. It's one of those things that sadly, you just never know. There's some things that are out of your control, and we don't know how he passed. I don't want to know. That's only for him and his family and close friends to know. But it could have been health. It could have been an accident. Could have been a number of different things. Could have been the black dog, for all we know. But
Well,
if
that
we
right
can,
there is. Let me cut you off real quick. That right there is more reason for people to start trying to better their fucking lives. Don't
yeah,
sit around and wait to die. Fucking work to start living, dude.
exactly, exactly. And facility, that's something you're definitely doing, my man. You're living large. You're living life the way you want to.
LIVIN. Living.
My man, thank you so much. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, I won't be releasing this video midweek because I forgot, being me, that I forget what I fucking had for breakfast last night. There you go, breakfast last night, breakfast yesterday. What I'll be doing is going back next week to the usual format of this video. We'll go members only after after we close here, and I'll do up an edited version of it. Try to get some subtitles for it. And I'll release it as a premiere next week at Facility. If you're around, mate, you're welcome to jump into the chat and watch it with me and whoever missed it this week. And at the end of that, I'll be then going into a spotlight on a very interesting character, the one that only Mr. Everyone Knows Dave.
Old Dave. Hell yeah.
Love him or hate him, he's definitely a character. I love the guy. I know he upsets a lot of people, but I tend to like the people that upset people. That's why I like your facility. You upset a lot of people.
Was he the one that I made the joke about him making a drug deal in his house?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that was funny.
Yes, that was one of the oh my fucking Archie and I were wetting ourselves, mate. That was actually, I think it was Archie. I think was it Archie or who was on with me?
I think it was Archie.
Yeah. Fuck me, that was funny. That was so funny. But yeah, could drug deal in his house, and then he tried to say he was just giving him a USB. Yeah, sure, mate, sure.
Yeah.
If you were giving him a USB and that sort of a deal, I don't want to know what's on that fucking USB, brother. But yeah. But
you know what it is? It's an uncut speedball. We'll call it that.
But mate, thank you so much for not only doing the interview, but like I said before, for being so open and honest and sharing. And it was a bit of an emotional roller coaster, my man, but definitely worth it. And I hope that we've helped some people with sharing your experiences, a few of mine as well, and our takes on it. Because at the end of the day, you're only responsible for yourself. Don't rely on other people, folks. Facility didn't, and with the background he had, he managed to rise above it. What's your excuse?
Yeah.
Patty said she's going to run sub from you when she gets a chance.
Hey, if I'm subbing for me, I mean she donated to Big Boss's family. I'm good with it. She ain't going nowhere though.
But mate, she found out about the size of your dick. She's never going anywhere. Hold it up again. Look at this. Can you get your hand through there?
Get a couple fingers in there for sure.
You look like you're used to that.
Calm down, Patty.
All the best, everyone, and we will see you next time, same channel as always, for the spotlight on Everyone Knows Dave. And don't forget, Lid Hosting if you're looking for a server in the EU. Awesome. All the best, everyone, and ciao for now.
Wieners.